Before I begin this video, I'd like to talk about something. I have been a longtime fan of scary stories. Ever since the discovery of Pokemon hacks online, it led me to learn about the creepy and mysterious world of creepypastas. So, to kick off the scary season, I'll be reading my own personal story, some classics, and some new Pokepastas to tie it all together. So, sit back, relax, or catch up on that tedious work while I read to you the horrors of the internet. The tale I'm going to tell you today is my own personal story. Creepypasta syndrome is real, and feel free to click the link below. It will lead you to proof to my own little paranormal problem. Without further ado, let's read Creepypasta syndrome. The tale I'm about to tell you is true. If you don't believe me, check out the video above. It's all the proof you need. This is a warning to those that love creepypastas, that read them, that obsess over them. Be careful. My story starts out different. I'm a wife, a mom, and a gamer. My husband took a night job, and I was stuck at home with my son and newborn daughter. I would put them to bed every night and go to the computer. My love of anime and video games followed me into adulthood, and so since they were asleep, I would find a game, a YouTube video, or an anime to watch and just dive in. That was until I was tired, which wasn't too long because I would have to wake early with the kids the next morning. During this time, I began to feel isolated. My husband would come home late at night, sleep till noon, and I would see him for maybe an hour before he left for work. I had no friends, as I'm very introverted and talking to people scares me. Between that, kids, and only one car, meaning that we didn't go anywhere during the week, I was home except for when we had grocery trips or appointments. I took refuge in listening to YouTubers commenting on games. This was when horror gaming was big on YouTube back in 2012. I loved watching them play games. I could comment and talk with other people in the community. I didn't feel alone. At some point, I wanted to do something with my life, so YouTube seemed like a fun thing. I started with anime reviews, working on them in my spare time during kids' naps. They were only 3 and 1 after all. At night, I would watch YouTubers play games. See, I already love zombies, so when I saw Yami Mash play Pokemon Snakewood, I was floored. I didn't waste another minute. I stopped watching and took the download link to play the game. I loved it, although I got stuck quickly and found myself on YouTube again looking at walkthroughs. At one point, I looked over and saw interesting pictures of other creepy Pokemon in my suggestions tab. To my surprise, there were stories called creepypastas, all about my favorite Pokemon hacks. One thing led to another, and soon it was 11 p.m. and I was still listening to a few. I called it a night and returned the next night, too eager to hear more. I would look over and see more suggestions for other stories. These weren't about Pokemon. They were about ghosts, murderers, demons, all the freaky things you hear about in good horror movies. In seconds, I was in horror heaven, listening to how Jeff killed his parents, how Ben drowned and ended up in a game, and how Slender Man would collect children that didn't listen. My adrenaline was pumping and I was immersed in the protagonist's point of view. That wasn't until my dog pawed at my legs to get my attention. I sighed and got up, stretching, noticing how full my own bladder was. Now, the interesting thing about reading and watching a lot of horror in one setting or repeatedly is it puts your mind in a state of unease. You're left wondering, are they real? I walked toward the bathroom, and as so, I was greeted with a hallway. I had walked down this hallway more times than I could count, but this was hard. The door to my children's room was open with the night light on, and the glow from the living room was lighting the hall halfway. However, my bedroom and bathroom were pitch dark. Jeff could be hiding in my bedroom, Slenderman could be in the bathroom. I feared the worst, but I knew if I stood there and wet my pants, that would be a tough one to explain to my husband. I somehow managed to make it to the bathroom. The entire time I stared at the door leading out. The same experience began to happen when I took the dog out. It was something I had done many times, but those stories... I found myself looking up, down, all around, especially where there were trees. Every move my dog made, I studied, ready to bolt inside if he seemed upset. Every time I looked in one direction, I would whip my head the other way around to make sure no one was standing there, and I would run back inside and quickly shut the door and lock it. In fact, I locked up my whole house. I became obsessed making sure every door and window was shut tight. Finally, I decided enough was enough, and I went to bed. I went to turn off the lights, but my hand froze. I was too scared to turn off the lights. So I left all but my lamp on and sprinted back to bed. Bed was worse. I shook and pulled the blankets over my head. Thankfully, I slept with the TV on, so there was a little light, but it still didn't help the feeling that someone was right behind me. Every time I closed my eyes, all I could think was Jeff or the rake standing right behind me as I slept. This was my schedule and my way of life. During the day I was fine. I would be a mom, taking care of the kids, doing my reviews as they napped, took care of the husband, and at night I would dive into the world of creepypastas. I found myself with the scary fandom that it was. One day, I had an idea. I wanted to do a Let's Play. I had become bored of doing reviews and thought that games that the YouTubers did were fun, so I wanted to do it too. So one night around Christmas, as you see above, I made a video. I was going to do Let's Plays of scary games and read a few creepypastas, cause why not? As I recorded it, just out of nowhere, that blue ghost appeared right in front of my face and was gone instantly. What you didn't see was the aftermath. I shut down my computer. I had only the TV on and I sat on the couch clutching my knees, shaking and crying. I was terrified. I had always believed in ghosts and this just confirmed it. I called my mom as my husband wasn't available and I showed her the video. She was sure it was just a car until I told her about the creepypastas. That's when she warned me about horror media. See, negativity has ways of manifesting if it's believed enough. Whether this was a ghost or just a car with blue headlights or something I conjured out of my own negativity, I'll never know. I stopped watching and reading creepypasta games. Try that again. I stopped watching and reading creepypastas for a long time. I'm back into them now, but this time they don't scare me. I know they aren't real, and I've learned to poke fun at them as well. Respectfully, of course. Just know this. Creepypastas are fun because you get a scare. Just understand that they aren't real. Don't overdo horror stories or video games. You never know what you'll find while you're in your little horror world. Understand the symptoms. Having constant fear, believing in monsters of the horror genre, inability to perform basic tasks due to the fear, or excessive watching of horror media. If you have all of these, stop. Give your mind a break from horror. This is why kitten therapy exists. Otherwise, it'll find you too. And unlike me, if you don't stop, who knows what will happen.